which basically means that today we're talking about Prey, directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who created the story alongside Patrick Asen, who took the writing credit in the end. It stars Amber Midthunder, Dakota Beavers, Dane DeLiegro as the Predator, and Bennett Taylor. And like with any recent film, I'm going to give a basic overview and then talk spoilers a bit later on. And there's a lot of stuff that I've had to start this video again because I'm like, oh, is that a spoiler? So this front bit's probably going to be quite short. But before I go into anything, the Comanche dub. I only became aware of it thanks to Google Chrome not being happy with Disney Plus for some reason. It kept running out of memory, even closing everything else down. I don't know what was going on. It's Chrome, it eats RAM, we know that. But I found out about it when I was troubleshooting and I was like, oh. And then I was trying to find it in the audio options where the subtitles and everything is as well. It's not there. It's in the extras, it's a separate thing. So you're welcome in case you were trying to find it and couldn't. I mean, there's plenty of articles out there, I'm sure people can find it. But yeah, the original idea was to have two versions, one in Comanche, one in English. And then they were like, well, we'll just record it in English because more people will probably be happy with that. And then we'll just dub it like any foreign language. And they got the people back, which is great. Another quick point before I talk about anything else is I'm using the term Comanche because that's something obviously they're happy using. But I do know the original term. I just don't want to butcher the pronunciation because the IPA guide's got these weird U's with lines through. And I don't know quite how to say that properly. I think it's more respectful to use a term that they're happy with, if not the actual self-name. But yeah, the back of the box, quick one. I only knew about this very shortly before release, and I was like, wait, we're having a non-technologically advanced Earth and Predators. This could be good. I mean, I know we've had hints in AVP, etc., but it's an interesting idea. There's a lot of things that perhaps it doesn't do right, but I do appreciate the idea of giving us something different, something that sets up what did happen down the line. There are a few callbacks, of course. There's a lot of callbacks and technically call forwards, I guess, by the chronology in universe, but there's a lot of stuff here that you'll be like, oh, they did the thing. Like a good friend of mine put, they've got the thing with the thing. And that was a really good way of writing it, that I didn't guess whatever, what else was in it. But there are a few moments that are a bit ropey. There's the CGI bear doesn't work quite as well as a lot of the other CGI for some weird reason. I don't know what it is about the bear specifically. Maybe it's because the wet fur just doesn't work. I don't know. I was warned about it, and yeah, it's obvious. But it's a fun film. It's a good entry into the series. A lot of people hated The Predator, quite rightly. It had very little going for it. There were moments I enjoyed, but they were literally moments, tiny moments, and you'd think Shane Black would have done better. A lot of people weren't happy with Predators, but I found it okay. It's got its flaws, but I think it did pretty well for what it was trying to do. I respect it. But for a lot of people, this will be the one that brings it back. And currently, I think 90-something, I can't remember the exact details, over 90% on Rotten Tomatoes and 7 point something on IMDb. Not too bad at all. I think that's a good sign. So if you're on the fence and you just want someone to say, is it good or not? Yeah, I enjoyed it. I sat through it. I didn't even realise that, it was already ending. And how it sets up a potential sequel is really fun, but I'm not even going to spoil that. There's so much things I want to say, and I'm being very careful. But before anyone who disappears, who doesn't want spoilers, disappears, I will just say, Sari is best dog. I'm terribly allergic to dogs, but I would risk a breakout for that boy. My favourite dog on film for a long while. But yeah, now it's time, I think, to get into some spoilers. Let's do it. Right. I wanted to say at the start a couple of things, but when I was talking about the Comanche dub, one of the things I really, really, really appreciate is how, and this was something that I found in an interview, like it is intentional. The French trappers. We don't have translations for those because anything that sounds foreign to Naru should sound foreign to us, which is why whatever dub it's in, it's not translated. So if it's the Comanche or the English dub, you still hear French, you still do not get a translation for it because she doesn't know what they're saying. Now, if you've actually got the closed captioning on because you like to eat snacks, or I was eating my dinner at the time and getting older, so I have subtitles on pretty much everything. You can read the French, and if you know French, you know what they're saying. But obviously, if you're good at hearing French as well, you'd know what they're saying. But at the end of the day, the idea is Naru doesn't know, so we don't get her knowing, if that makes sense, what's being said. But when obviously Raphael comes in to translate for her, because he can speak Comanche, who again, it was him in the Comanche dub, he came back for his parts there. You know, obviously he can explain between the two. And I did appreciate that. I thought that was a really good idea. A lot of films will just go, well, you know, I know the person wouldn't know, but the audience will be like, I don't know what they're saying. It does happen. You do have stupid people who don't understand what they're going for. And there might have been people with this who have said, why can't I know what the French are saying? That's why. There is a really good reason for it. But yes, Raphael, I wanted to say about the French thing, but also Raphael, who is very likely, I know the comic books gave a different backstory, but the film is obviously not taking the comic books as canon, it's taking film as canon, which I think is fine. You keep the world separate, I respect that. But this is very much the origins of the gun from Predator 2. This is what I think my friend was mentioning with they did the thing. I get a feeling this was it. The gun was there. And I saw it, I was like, Raphael Adolini, I think it is. Can't remember the exact thing. 1715. That feels familiar to me. Why is that? Why does that niggle in the back of my mind? This gun looks familiar, and I was like, wait, it's that. And I even looked it up, and yes, it is a replica of that gun. So whether that will be picked up, because we have it now, as far as I recall, in Naru's hands. It didn't, obviously, because this feral predator didn't survive. So it's not back with them. But that thing that I said in the pre-spoiler a bit about how it teases the next one, the animated thing, like you'd have on like Marvel films, where it's like the animated credits thing, where it just told the story of the film, but the end shot, where you see the ships coming down, I'm guessing that's how we're going to get it. Now, I don't recall if we've ever had, probably in the supplemental material like comics, etc., but I don't think we've ever had an established Yautja, as the proper name for them is, lifespan or anything like that. There's various cultural things that exist, but I've never seen a lifespan. Could the Elder in Predator 2 actually be a young guy here? Like if there is a sequel, a direct sequel that picks up on that little stinger of the ships coming down, could the Elder be one of those on the ship? And they do something, there's this hunt thing, and Nara gets involved, and they have this bonding moment, and it's like, here's a relic from me to you, which will then become a relic for Danny Glover in the future. Obviously, she wouldn't say for Danny Glover in the future, but it could be something like that. There could be the cultural bonding thing like we saw in AVP, which itself was a reference to the comics. So there's a lot here that I think they did really well, and yeah, if it bleeds, we can kill it. There's those moments. The heat thing was interesting. I like the fact that they didn't just go, let's muddy up. I mean, there was a moment earlier, it's like, oh, is this going to be the callback? But no, it's actually this herb to cool the blood, as she called it. And I'm guessing it's maybe some anti-inflammatory or something like that, but it does obviously cool them down, so the thermal imaging of the predator doesn't pick them up. I love that. I think that was genius. A brilliant moment. And so much here that I really do appreciate. Now, when you get things like this, like a sequel that happened before what came before it, kind of like the Prometheus Covenant kind of issues, how has none of this survived into modern storytelling? How in the first Predator did no one know about the Predator? I mean, I know this one was slightly different, but you could see similarities. A lot of people said they don't like this design, and I find a lot of problems with this design, but if we assume that this is a more, well, it's called the Feral Predator, if this is a less advanced version, we don't know how fast they evolve. There also could be different subsets like we've seen in other films. So if this is something more like a different subset of them, where it's perhaps a more like Cro-Magnon to Neanderthal kind of idea, where there is a section who are still able to use the technology, but they're a little more brutal, they're a little less developed, I guess. There's a lot of reasons that this could exist. A lot of it will probably just be hand-waving to make it work and let the filmmakers not have to answer every single question, probably, but like I say, yeah, I really enjoy what this was doing. I'm always a sucker for representation when it's done by the people, for the people. When I was a kid, I loved Pocahontas. And as an adult, I've learned that there's a lot of problems with it. And the respect that I thought it was showing wasn't necessarily the respect that it was actually showing, if you get me. But this has a lot of people who are indigenous, and they are able to put their culture out on film. They are able to show their heritage. I'm just sad that it's taken until 2022 to actually get something like this. I I love this world. I love what they've done. And I hope all subsequent sequels, if they do a few of this, like if they do like the Prey trilogy, arguably say, I want Comanche dubs for both of those two. I will not be happy if that doesn't happen. I will scream at Disney and say, no, we need this to be still respectful, thank you. But yeah, Prey, I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was a great entry into the series. All the Predator movies have something wrong with them, even the first. But this has the least wrong of the more modern ones, shall we say. So thank you very much for letting me talk about that, and until next time, as always, take care. Get to the chopper! Which didn't exist then.